Okay, so now that you have attempted those first 5, we are going to begin writing equations given a point slope form or 2 points. Okay, so the first problem, we had to just find the slope of these 2 points. Okay, so we plug these in. So we have x1, y1, x2, y2. So negative 3 minus 4 over 8 minus 6. Simplifying that a little bit, we get negative 7 on top, 2 in the denominator. So negative 7 over 2 is our slope. Now I do this real quick just to check that. Because if I say 6, 4, somewhere in that area, and then 8, negative 3, okay, I'm going over it, and so it's actually going, looks like it would be a negative slope, correct? All right, that's the point. All right, so the next 2 points, I took negative 2 minus 0. So again, that's x1, y1, x2, y2. Negative 2 minus 0 over negative 1 minus 3, which is negative 2 of negative 4. Divide those, you get positive 1/2. Okay, and again, 3, 0 would be a point right here. Negative 1, negative 2 would be over here, so that would be a positive slope, which actually kind of matches up with that. All right. Last of these 3 we have 2, 7, 2, negative 1, so negative 1 minus 7, y2 minus y1, y2 minus y1, over x2 minus x1, so 2 minus 2. We get negative 8 divided by 0, which is undefined if you type it in the calculator. If I put those 2 points, 2, 7, 2, negative 1, I would have something like this, which reminds me sort of Hoy Vux, this part of it at least. A vertical line. In fact, I forget the way I should probably write that is it's an undefined slope, vertical line. So it's an x equals line, and our slope is, well, like I said, undefined. Okay. So finding the slope is not that bad. Now we're looking at what we did yesterday. You have this point right here, x1, y1, and you know the slope. So we plug into this equation right here, y minus y1 equals m, parentheses x minus x1. So y minus y1, so y minus a negative 5, so plus 5. Our slope is 2. Okay, so our slope is 2. Our y1 is that negative 5 right there, so we get a minus negative 5 or plus 5. And then that 3 takes in our x1, so we get minus 3. Then we distribute. Okay, so we distribute 2 times x is 2x. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. And then to get y by itself, we subtract that 5 there from both sides. And we get y equals 2x minus 11. Okay, the number 5, x1, y1, and we have a slope. So our slope in this formula right here gets filled in right there, so we get a negative 3/4, parentheses x minus a negative 8, so we get a plus 8 right there, y minus 2, and then to get y by itself, add 2 to both sides, get this distributed, oh, we skipped over the distributing. We have 3/4 times 8 is negative 6. Pardon me. And then adding, so we get negative 6, and then you add 2 to both sides, so you get negative 4. So y equals negative 3/4 x minus 4. Okay, so what we're doing today is we are going to combine those 2 ideas. Okay, just finding the slope and using point slope to write the slope-intercept form. So let's go with number 6. All right, so our step 1 is going to be find the slope. Now I'm going to go ahead and write the slope formula right over here, y2 minus y1, or x2 minus x1. Although we are going to use this so much, hopefully you already have it memorized, but if not, it's on the star chart, right? Okay, so x1, y1, x2, y2. So we get slope is 10 minus 4 over negative 1 minus negative 2. pay particular attention to the fact that there's always a minus sign automatically in that formula. So you're automatically subtracting right there. Okay, so even if it's a negative sign, you're subtracting there. So we get right here a plus 2. Okay, so we get 6 over 1, or just 6. That's our step 1. Step 2, y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. Go to our point slope. Okay, so we'll plug some of these things in. We'll get y minus, well, we already labeled the y1. It's that one right up here. So we get y minus 4 equals slope 6 times x minus x1. So it's going to be a plus 2 right there. Okay. I just can point out this one similarity though, right? Up here, we have minus 4, positive 2. Actually, because this point slope is the slope formula. They really go together. All right, so we need to distribute these 6. So we get 6 times 2, which is 12. So we get 6x plus 12. And we have y minus 4 equals. Okay, we need y by itself. So we need to add, in the opposite, add 4 to both sides. So we get y equals 6x plus 16. And there's our step 3, is getting that into slope-intercept form. Okay. All right, number 7. Step 1. M equals, well, if I label these x1, y1, x2, y2, I'll take 3 minus 1 over 2 minus 1. And so I get 2 over 1, or just 2. So my slope is 2. Step 2, y minus y1, which is 1, m times x minus x1, which is also 1. So there's step 2. Now we'll need to get this into slope-intercept. So we get 2x minus 2. It's y minus 1. And then add 1 to both sides in order to get y equals 2x minus 1. And there's our slope-intercept form, and there we go. Our slope ought to still match. And sometimes you'll actually have to point the matches. This time we don't. Okay, number 8. First, let me label these x1, y1, x2, y2. Okay, so step 1, slope. So we'll take 2 minus 0 over 0 minus 4. Notice the order that I'm doing that in, and notice the negative signs. You've got to pay particular attention to those. 2 minus 0 is 2. 0 minus 4 is negative 4. So our slope, we reduce that, is negative 1/2. All right, so step 2, y minus y1. Well, y1 we already picked out as 0, y minus 0, equals negative 1/2 times x minus x1, so minus 4. Watch our negative signs here, okay, because we have negative 1/2 times negative 4. So that's going to be, so that's a negative 1/2 x. Negative times negative is positive, so positive 2. And then y minus 0 is just y. So y equals negative 1/2 x plus 2. Now if you notice, we actually already had the y-intercept. We already had the y-intercept, right? Because up here, you see where that is? It's this point right here. 0, 2. We already knew the y-intercept was going to be 2. So we could have skipped this middle step right here. Now, I went ahead and did that step because 9 times out of 10, you're going to have to do all these steps. Okay, but here, if you notice, okay, we found the slope. We've already got the y-intercept. That's it. And we could have just gone straight to that. All right, number 9. All right, we get same steps. slope. So we get x1, y1, x2, y2. So let's see, that's 7 minus negative 2. Should keep track of the negatives there. 7 minus negative 2. As I pointed out earlier, you automatically have a minus sign right there. Okay, and then so now we've got x2 minus x1, negative 14. So this ends up being a double negative, so we get 9 over 21. And if we reduce that, let's see, if 3 goes into both of those, that becomes 3 over 7. There's our slope. Step 2, y minus y1, which is negative 2, so we'll have a plus 2 there, equals m, our newly found 3/7, x minus x1, so plus 14, because we're minus a negative 14. Okay, 3/7 times x, just 3/7 x. 3/7 times 14 is going to be positive. Now let's see, actually 7 goes into that twice, so we get plus 6. And y plus 2 equals 3/7 x plus 6. Okay, we want y by itself. Y by itself, so we'll do the opposite, subtract 2. And so our third step, y equals 3/7 x plus 4. Okay, 2 more we've got to go of this type. We're going to try something a little different. So x1, y1, x2, y2. So step 1, still find the slope. So we'll do 7 minus 3 over 5 minus 5. So 4 over 0, which is undefined. Okay, now this is the place where Hoy Vux comes in real handy. Undefined slope. That tells me my line is going to be an x equals line. And it's also going to be vertical. It's going to be vertical. So it's going to be x equals, well, what's the x in this problem? You notice both the points, they have the same x value. X is 5, so we have x equals 5. So if we had actually graphed this, we'd go 5, 3, 5, 7. Vertical line that goes right through 5. And so the equation is x equals 5. Okay, number 11. Now I noticed something right off the bat. And that maybe just because we just did that problem, but right off the bat I noticed that I have both of those y's are the same. Okay, so this is actually going to be another one of our special cases, but I'm going to go ahead and work this one out. We'll come down to our special case in a second. Step 1, find the slope. So we get 4 minus 4, y2 minus y1, over x2 minus x1, 7 minus 2. So 0 over 5, which is actually just 0. Our slope is 0. Now this actually goes back to the Hoy part of this. Okay, 0 slope. So it's going to be y equals and be a horizontal line. So if we go to our y minus y1, y1 is 4, y minus 4, equals m, 0, x minus x1. All right, now we need to distribute this, so we get 0 times this stuff over here. So 0 times x is 0. 0 times negative 2 is 0. So we actually just get equals 0. All this just comes out to be 0. So y minus 4 equals 0. Well, to get y by itself, we need to add 4 to both sides. And so y equals 4 in our step 3. Okay, so a horizontal line that goes through these 2 points has a 0 slope, and the y's are always going to be 4 in those points. Okay, last type of thing we've got. Now these first two will work out very much like what we have done in the past. Okay, so if you can see your slope and your intercept, y-intercept, then we're done really. Because we're going to write the equation that's modeled by each one of these. So do you see the y-intercept in number 12? Yep, it's right there. Remember, it's 0, comma something. The 0, comma 0, so our y-intercept is 0, our b is 0, and our slope, well, let's see, if we just look at these points, let's try these right here. Down by 3, up by 1, so negative 3 over 1, which is negative 3. So our equation is y equals mx plus b, so negative 3x plus 0, or just negative 3x. Okay, number 13, we have the almost exact same thing. Do you see the y-intercept? Remember, it's 0, comma something. So 0, 5 is our y-intercept. So b equals 5 for our equation. And our slope. So let's look at 0, 5, and 1, 7. So that's up by 2, up by 1. So 2 over 1, rise over run. So our m is, let me just write that, mx plus b. Our m is 2. Our b is 5. So y equals 2x plus 5. Okay. Now, I did those this way because sometimes it does work out nicely that way. Okay, now we're not always given our y-intercept. Okay, so we had to be a little bit creative when we did this before in the last unit. But if we look at 14, now that we have point slope form, this will actually work out just fine. So step 1 is going to be, well, do we see the y-intercept? We already said we could. Do we have the y-intercept? There's not a single 0 in this at all, so we don't see the y-intercept, but there is one. Okay, so let's see. We have got to find the slope. So let's pick 2 points. Let's use these 2 right here. Okay, so I'm going to do x1, y1, and that's x2, y2. So that's going up by, no, it's going down by 2. 3 to 4 is plus 1, so our slope is negative 2 over 1, or just negative 2. Now, I picked this one as my x1, y1, so I'm going to use that for my point slope. Y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. So y minus negative 4, so plus 4. Negative 2 is my slope. X minus 3. Okay, so if I distribute this negative 2 right here, I get negative 2x, actually a plus 6. All right, I need y by itself, so I'll subtract 4 from both sides. And so I get y equals, it's a 0 pair, negative 2x plus 2. There we have it. So our slope ought to match right there. And if we graph this, we can look at the table and see that it should match up. All right, number 15. Do we have the slope and y-intercept? Now be really careful because the y-intercept is always 0, comma b, whatever b is. Okay, so what we have is not the y-intercept. It's actually the x-intercept. Okay, so we don't have a y-intercept. So let's see if we can find the slope. Let's see, x1, y1, x2, y2. So let's see, that's increasing by 1, and increasing by 2. So the slope is 1 over 2, or just 1/2, which already looked at that. All right, 2, step 2, y minus y1, y1 is 1 up here, y minus 1, equals 1/2 times x minus x1, which is 4. All right, so I'm going to distribute this 1/2 like we've been doing for the last couple days. Get 1/2 x minus 2, and y minus 1. Okay, so for it to be in y equals mx plus b, we need to get y by itself. So we'll do the opposite here, add 1. It adds real nicely over here. These two can go together. So we'll add it over there. So we get y equals 1/2 x and a minus 1 right there. Okay, so as I said last time, the big things, watch out for your negative signs. Please watch out for your negative signs. and get y by itself. That's our end goal is all these, is to get y equals mx plus b. Just make sure you're doing that as you go. Okay, and let's get started on our assignment and get this done. Go.